Happy Friday. Welcome, everybody. It's great to be here. We took a little hiatus trying to catch up to some of the things that have been happening, but I'm glad to be back today and welcome everyone. There's so much to talk about, of course. So we're going to try to cover some of the things. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, we're just going to try to cover what we can while we're here and see how we can do with that. But thank you for the panelists and the guests who are here. Hopefully, more will join us because we did take a break, but I appreciate everybody's compassion while I try to get through these past few weeks of new developments every few hours, right? But hey, Salma and Taylor are my co-hosts today. Allie's here.
Hey,
Hey,
Hey, happy
well,
Friday, everyone.
happy Friday.
happy Friday indeed. I'm excited to get into all of the things with you guys today. I've missed you these last couple weeks. So, my favorite day of the week has arrived, and I'm so excited to be here talking about AI with some of my favorite people.
And I appreciate that, Taylor, because yeah, we've been trying to. We don't even get to talk that much anymore during the week because there's so much that happens that we can barely. We're not even sure what the other ones are doing. But thank you for joining us, everybody who's coming in. Today, we were going to talk about the tools that we're using, because I was reading things like the subscriptionization of AI in Charlie Guo's newsletter. And we were talking about just how many things we have to use, the different types of tools. And a lot of people, like, I don't know why some people use Claude 3 if you pay the pro plan versus using ChatGPT or something else. So we were just going to kind of talk about some of the things that we are using so that we can, maybe you all can hear why we use them and what we decide we're going to pay for and what we're not. And hopefully that will be helpful to some people. So thank you for joining us. And Omni, I'm going to get you a mic in a second. Thank you. Omni and AP will be joining us shortly. And let's go ahead and get started. Salma, you want to say anything?
Yeah, no, happy Friday, everyone. Excited to be here. Lots of things to cover. I know, as Heather mentioned, we're going to be talking about the types of tools we're using, also the amount of, I guess, prices we pay, if there's alternative tools available, and then most importantly, what is the best way of integrating that into your workflow in a meaningful way. So to start off, Ali, wanted to, if you could just tell us a little bit about what you do and what tools you use.
Yes, hello everyone. Happy to be here also. It's just so hectic. I half of the time don't know what day it is. So it's Friday. Let's go. I will just chime in right off of what Heather said. Like, for example, why would somebody use ChatGPT and Claude when both are, $20 a month? And I am one that uses both and pays for both. Now, do you necessarily have to pay for both? No, you could pick and choose, or perhaps you could even use the free version of Claude. It's still pretty good. I basically do it because I like certain things on one and certain things on others, and because I'm doing a lot of testing. But if I was perhaps more of a regular user, and when I'm saying regular user, I mean, let's say I was using it for business purposes, or if I had a specific business of whatever it is, or even small business, or if I was doing content, I could use perhaps just one. And again, I could maybe use Claude without having to pay for it. But I compare prompts a lot, and I throw the same thing for both and see what I get from one and versus the other. Most of the time, they are fairly similar. I sometimes like Claude better because just the way that it answers me or gives me results, and vice versa. Now, the only reason why I keep going back to ChatGPT 4 is because of the voice. Well, I mean, I'm thinking this is the only reason, but maybe I would go there anyway. But I really use the voice feature on my phone a lot, almost daily. So literally, I may be going somewhere, walking, whatever I'm doing, I can just quickly ask a question or troubleshoot something. Hey, how do I do this? I just literally, I mean, it's usually for business purposes, but I just ask for a specific recipe. I know I have the recipe somewhere and it's a very generic recipe, but I knew that ChatGPT would give me that faster than I can go find it somewhere in my, cupboards or whatever. So it's super fast and easy to use. So I do love that feature a lot. And I really hope that Claude will come with a voice as well. Of course, I can use a voice if I'm, for example, on my desktop, but it's not as smooth user experience. So I'm all for smooth user experience, which is kind of also what Heather was saying there, is that one of the big challenges that I'm also recognizing is that we have so many different tools and we have to bounce from one to the other to accomplish something. And I've said this earlier and I'll say it again, is that when somebody comes up with a tool that can streamline my workflow for something and make my life a lot easier, that will get a lot of adoption because I want to stick with one thing instead of bouncing from 5 or 6 different things. And I'll leave it at that for right now because, again, this is a huge topic and we'll see what others, everybody can chime in on, if you first of all want to chime in about ChatGPT and Claude. And then in addition to those, by the way, just from a conversational and search side of things, I also use Perplexity. So those are my three go-tos. So basically, I'm paying $40 because I pay for the two, Claude Pro and ChatGPT 4. And then Perplexity, I do not use the paid version. However, of course, I could use just Perplexity, but for some reason, I prefer getting Claude and ChatGPT from their native places.
Allie, do you mean to tell me that you don't pay for Midjourney?
Well, yes, of course, pay for
That's what
Midjourney,
I
but
was going to
Okay,
ask.
I
good.
paid the $60 tier for
Okay, good.
Midjourney. So yes, I couldn't live without
Just
that. That
making
is my
sure.
number one go-to, but I was simply talking about the other stuff first. I was gonna come to Midjourney afterwards. Midjourney is my number one, so I can't go wrong with that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask too, and I'm embarrassed because I'm paying more than that for Midjourney, burning through hours. But for the other like image editing and things like that, Adobe, do you pay like for the full Adobe? Right.
I was on the Adobe Creative Cloud and I was paying for that, but I recently reduced it and now I'm only paying for the Photoshop because Photoshop I use a lot. And again, this was something that I was pondering for a while to see because it's a lot of money at the end of the day, right? And I wasn't really using it anywhere as much as I used to. I also used to pay for Adobe Stock Photos, right? And that's another $33 a month, and I canceled that as well. And then what I do with some of the others is I rotate, right? So, I mean, I do also pay for Runway, and then things like Grammarly, Canva, things like that that are not necessarily just AI related, and also pay for Feedly. That's like $7 a month to get feeds for different things that I can know what's going on at all times, and other things like that. But I typically then others that I dabble with, I rotate them because we could be literally looking at hundreds and perhaps $1,000+ a month for all of these things, which may not be sustainable.
And what about for your PKM? Like, what do you use? Notion?
I do not use Notion at all, no. And all the things that I do, like, so I'm like a Google Docs, spreadsheets, or Google Sheets, slides, everything person. And then I'm using my manual pen and paper a lot. So
Well, that's helpful, yeah, because as we keep going, I'm thinking like all these other additional things that we use, and when you start talking about it, it is really, I don't want to really even think about the total cost, but first file storage and things like that for Google, I have I'm paying for extra for the file storage, the amount of storage space. Then I also pay for Dropbox. I forgot about that. Like $10 a month, and I have to split it up sometime. I have to pay extra for iOS storage. In It's like everywhere. Like, what do you do with all your files?
Uh,
That's another issue.
do you use an external hard drive?
No, I should.
See, I use that one. So every single thing that I do, especially in Midjourney, and I download, because I do download quite a lot of art and even videos. I put every single thing somewhat organized in my external, very large external hard drive. So, and I do it for a couple of reasons, right? Like I want to have it so that I can carry it with me, but that way I'm not clogging any kind of cloud systems. And although I do have them, but I use them selectively because, again, it can also get out of hand. So I have found that the external hard drive is super handy.
Okay, thank you so much, Ali. That's so helpful, and I hope that people in the audience that it's helpful for you all to hear that. And hopefully, if when we go through, we're going to try to open up the mics a little bit at the end, so we can talk about some additional tools that people could have that you can offer some your experience and background with, and even give us tips on how to use it better, like I should be doing with external hard drive. But who are we going to next? Oh, I'm next here. I'm looking at our thing. So mine is all over the place, and I apologize, but thank you, Ali, for starting it off. First of all, I use Mem for my because I have to have a way to store it quickly, and I use Mem for my notes and things like that. Sending emails and things like that instead of using Notion, although I do have Notion, but I use Mem because it's self-organizing and I don't have to make any folders or anything like that. And it has GPT-4 in there if I use it to help write. I don't normally use it, but it's more for I can just find whatever I need in there. Amelie, you got your hand up?
Yeah, yeah. Can we like make a little note of like so like you said mem, I have no idea what that is.
Oh
Ali
yeah.
said perplexity, I have no idea what that is. So maybe for like these ones that aren't like mid-journey and ChatGPT, we could like sort of explain a little bit so that people know or
Can
if they want to go check it out or whatever.
Yeah,
can I just
absolutely.
chime in off the back of that too, Amelie? And I forgot to mention this earlier, so I'm sorry. Um, it has been a minute since I've done like a good infographic, and so one of my ideas before coming into this space today, that I was chatting with Heather about is after this call, I'm going to wrap up everyone's like top picks from the community here on this panel, as well as any speakers who want to share. We just want to make sure that if you do grab a mic and you want to share some of your favorites, the can't live without it type of AI tools that you're using, that we just keep that conversation really tight and on topic so that we don't deviate too much. But I do want to have at the end of this, I'm putting it together as we're on this, kind of a just a little visual matrix of like these generative AI tools that we use and recommend and can't live without, and some of the lesser known ones like Mem, that will make it on there as well. And so, as we're kind of going through and listing some of our favorites, I have some of the categories like listed out across like text gen tools, image, video, voice, music, assistants that we use. And I'm sure there's even more categories that I'm missing. So if you don't mind, if it's a tool that we've never heard of or like maybe is lesser known, it would be awesome if you could kind of just give a little quick intro to like what type of tool it even is. Obviously we know
Yeah,
the big ones, but yeah, that's my piece.
that's a good point, and thank you for both reminding me of that. And everybody, feel free to use the chat to drop your tools in there and explain why you use them, so that we can go through there. And Taylor can even add that to the infographic too, because there's just a lot out there, and it's hard for everybody to know. Go ahead, Ali.
Yes, since I mentioned Perplexity, I'll just quickly recap what Perplexity is. So, Perplexity is the answer engine. This is the new wave. Instead of being Google, the search engine, this is kind of the new way moving forward. And I'm actually super bullish about, or, have high hopes for Perplexity. I'm really impressed of what they're doing. And somebody that's been in the digital marketing space and optimizing, doing SEO for almost 20 years, I personally am barely using Google for searching anything right now. I go to Perplexity. So basically, Perplexity is replacing Google for me. And it gives you answers and it also gives you links where to find them, but it's much more than that too. So Perplexity is also including things like Claude in their pro plan. So follow that space or go check it out if you haven't used it yet. I love Perplexity.
I was going to that perplexity was next on my list because as I'll explain mem quickly. Mem is my messaging memo, self memo knowledge management system basically, and I can put things in there and it I don't have to tag it or I don't have to put it in a folder. It self organizes it for me. So if I just throw a note in there, it'll just find somewhere, and if I go to the search bar and type it in, it just pops it up. If I wanted to continue writing for me, I can do that. I can ask for it to find every single thing that I wrote about Stability AI, and it'll bring up different tweets or different things that I sent to it, or it could have something that I forwarded from my email, or something that I just a note that I put in there, and it just finds it and it'll ask like, "Is there anything else?" Like it has a chat in there, and it'll ask if there's anything it can help me with. So yeah, I pay for that one. It's about $100 a year, but for me, I've stopped using Obsidian and Notion and all kinds of different note taking tools. So I store everything there. My Mind is another one, and we've talked about it before. I use it frequently, and it's free. You can get quite a bit of it for free, but it has a browser extension. If you find something you like, you can just tap it, and It also stores everything and self organizes it, so you don't have to tag it either. But that one is more for just like capturing things that you find online and just putting it somewhere so you can look at it later. And it's not necessarily for like writing and things like that. It does have with the paid plan, if you have an image, it will give you like a color palette for it and identify the colors and a few other cool things. But I don't use it as much, but that's one of my things that if I'm looking at something on my phone, if I want to save it, I can save it to there and then I'll have like a little visual card. It's a nice little visual note taking thing there. Or storage, just give you like a thumbnail of what information you put in there. That's a pretty helpful one that a lot of people might find useful. Perplexity. Of course, I have Chat GPT Plus, and because I just used a lot of the GPTs quite frequently in there, so I really need to pay for the Pro plan. I get a lot of. I use that for image prompts. I use it for research. Use it for writing. I use it to get ideas, to come up with like descriptions for YouTube videos or captions and things like that. Sometimes I just use the GPT-4, or I'll use the specific GPTs, depending on. There's quite a few that I like. I will give a shout out to Civitai. They have a great prompt generator in there, and I use that a lot. And it gives you really good prompts. It can also analyze images, and a lot of time I'll put an image in there and tell it, give me images, like 10 image prompts based on the same style and colors, or whatever that sometimes like even for those I'll have things that'll have weird patterns like the quirky patterns. It'll give me original unique image prompts that I can take just from the idea of that style, and specifically it's optimized for Stable Diffusion, but it works in Midjourney as well, so I use that a lot. Perplexity in Perplex, I pay for the Pro plan for Perplexity. I've been using that since it launched, and I agree with Allie where it can replace Google search. I very rarely Google things, but Perplexity, the thing I like about it now, especially besides the Copilot, that's why I pay for the Pro plan. But it gives you visual answers, visual results. So now it can give you when you type in something, not only will it bring back all the information about that topic with the sources cited, which helps because you can click on that and go straight to the source. It'll also bring back images from around the internet, and it will give you YouTube videos that you can check too that are related to that topic. So you can watch it right there on the platform, or you can go off to watch it on YouTube. So that is very helpful because sometimes you're not sure, like it'll bring up things like flow charts and different things like that to help you visualize a concept. So that's very helpful. It also now has image generation with a playground. It has playground. I think it's in there, the newest version, but it does have image generation, and it can analyze images. I think it uses GPT-4, but yeah, it has all the. I don't. Does it have Mistral on it? I'm not sure, but
I think they do, yes.
okay, yeah. So it has all the major LLMs that you can go back and forth from. And I also use the browser extension, which is free. And Matt Wolf put me down with that. And it's very helpful because you can decide, tell it what to focus on, that page, that domain, or anywhere on the internet. And I use that all the time to summarize information. So, say I go to a new tool, I'll click on the browser extension for Perplexity and put, summarize that page. And it'll give me a nice little summary. You can ask it specific things, but it has a summarize button and it's pretty easy. So I do that and I add the description to my spreadsheet, and it gives you the sources on even on the browser tab. So those are the things that I use mainly, but I do occasionally go to Claude, to the actual site. Sometimes Poe in Copilot, in the Bing Copilot. I've been using that periodically. I like using Dolly on there with the different styles, because you can change the styles and the aspect ratio, where you can make it either a square, portrait, or landscape, I think. So that's pretty helpful. And Midjourney, I'm using whatever it is, the Turbo, I think that's 120 a month. It hurts to say that. Adobe, I'm not sure which plan, but it seems like it's a lot. But I use Adobe, I have Canva. CapCut, I recently went to Pro because it's not that expensive. And it's just so, I mean, I think it's well under $100 a year for the CapCut Pro, but I started using quite a few features on there, and I'm paying for Runway, and I use quite a few features there. I pay for Clip Drop too, because there's some pretty cool tools on there that a lot of people may not be aware of, like the face swap and the text remover and some of the little editing tools. And I like to play around with the SDXL Turbo. Um, I've been paying for Kyber, Deforum. I pay for Deforum because I love it, and I burned through those credits. And I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Oh, Tweet Hunter. I've had to pay for that. I do pay quite a bit for Tweet Hunter, but it's worth it for me because that's how I schedule all of my posts on X, and I do that because it also has GPT-4 inside Tweet Hunter. They have a ton of AI tools that I like it because it analyzes my hooks and my tweets, so that it can kind of tell you how it will perform, and it can help you. It'll rewrite it or give you options and things like that. So it's a lot. I use a lot of those tools in there, but I also can schedule auto repost for everything. And that's what, if you don't do that, if you don't do it automatically, you guys should make sure you go in and repost your post on your own at least once, because you're missing half your audience. In the way the feed is on here, people just aren't going to see it. I'll notice I'll have a lot more people see it the second or third time I schedule it for 3 reposts. And that helps. That way it kind of spreads around so that people around the world can see it, or it might just show up in your feed
How
later on.
often do you repost? Is it every 6 hours, Heather, or is it every 9?
I do mine every 7 hours, 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah, don't ask me why. I used to do it 8 hours for like a 24, only for 24 hours. And I think the max you can do is 3 times. But I don't know why. I just went to 7 hours, and then I'm confused all the time because I used to have it double up. And so every day it'd be like everything. And you guys probably have noticed, you'll see my good night, then you'll see my good morning. That's why. And then you'll see the next days. But I just do it because everybody doesn't see it. So yeah, but I love that aspect of it. I used to use the what's the thing called when you add on your CTA or your product auto plug. But since we get dinged so badly and deboosted when we post links, I don't do that anymore. So I never do that. I never really talk about my newsletter or anything because I got tired of getting deboosted and search banned and all that. So forget it. But that's pretty much for me. I will stop talking and let me see who's next here. Salma, you want to go?
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I don't use as many tools as you do, Heather. I think you're quite organized, especially with like the tweet hunter. I didn't even realize that you get dinged if you put like an auto plug. So that's something, a lesson learned there. So in terms of the tools, the AI tools that I use on a day to day, I use GPT, DALI. This is just really to facilitate like creative brainstorming. I almost see it as like a creative intern. Give it ideas, keep it broad, and then dial it in. I also used to use quite a lot of Stable Diffusion, only because I'd train up lots of LoRa's and download like models from Civet AI. But now that Magnific has done such a great job, I've kind of like switched over to using Magnific just to upscale. And then I also I used to use Notion quite a bit, but I keep moving back and forth from Notion only because it can get a little bit overwhelming. So now I'm back on Google Docs, just regular, and then of course Midjourney. So pretty lean. However, I did try Leonardo. It's again a good tool if you wanted to like brainstorm things, just generate a bunch of images. Their interface is a little bit, I don't know, like there's so many options that again it could probably get a little bit overwhelming. And then Runway, I keep going back and forth. So I'm hoping that they at some point update their model, but there's still quality issues there. But then new like Motion Brush was quite cool, so I use Runway sometimes. And in terms of like cost for everything, I would say so GPT Plus, I pay for that, and then I would say Magnific, and then Midjourney. So it's pretty lean. I like to keep it lean, and I think
Oh
that's
man,
about it. Yeah.
you're good. I forgot to mention Magnifique too, so thank you for putting that in there. But yeah, you do keep it lean.
Yeah, I mean, there were times where I had like lots of, I had like P collabs, Runway. What was the other one? Um, there was oh yeah, Free Pick. There was a bunch of other ones. Canva, but then I just like condensed it now.
Yeah, there's quite a few that I would consider getting, but it gets to be where, yeah, there's just too many. There's things that I have to use, mainly also because I'm writing about it and teaching about it. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to use it. But yeah, there's a lot out there. Free Pick has that excellent, that infinite scrolling and live generation or whatever you call that is wild. Reimagine is really good. So we got Omli. You ready?
This is such a dangerous space. Like maybe we shouldn't have had it because I'm like, oh, I gotta go get this now, and I can't
Oh,
afford
I'm
it.
like, what are you saying? Because
That's what
we're
I meant.
revealing too much. Oh, well, now, well,
Yeah, I was
okay.
like, oh crap, all these tools I gotta go get now. Uh, but yeah, actually, I'm actually maybe like a combo between Selma and the rest of you, just because I recently is unemployed and I had to go through and like pare down, and it was kind of scary to see how much money I was spending, like without even really realizing it. Because also, I'll sign up for stuff and then forget about it. And like, I had like maybe been I was spending like $150 on apps since November that I had not even used because I signed up for it just to like test them out and then completely forgot about it. But right now I would say that like my can't live without, so I really know what I can't live without now because I had to pare down to like the ones that I literally could not live without. And that was ChatGPT slash Dolly. I mean, ChatGPT is one of those things I don't really, everyone knows it's great. I'm like using it now for like coding and stuff. It always surprises you. Like you think you've reached your limit of what you can do with it. And then you're kind of like, huh, I wonder if it could help me with this thing that I didn't think I could ever do. And then it can, and then you kind of feel like a genius. And then I also use Dolly 3 because I actually use that for my work. I have one very small job where I make images for a online magazine, and its ability to like really understand the prompt is like perfect for that, because it has to like, you know, hit what the headlines are and things like that. It can't really be Mid-Journey where it's more interpretive of the prompt and stuff. So I really love Dolly 3 for that. It's like incredibly helpful. And then I do have MJ, but I think I paid like the $8. I pay like the itty bitty, whatever the smallest tier is. I am on it mainly for like sourcing input stuff for like IP adapters and things like that, or just sort of like brainstorming and stuff like that. For like when I take it and then I'll go into like Stable Diffusion. So I've been like really hard into all the local stuff. That's kind of been my jam since the beginning, because God almighty, if I can save the money, I will. Even though in the end, I don't know if it does save money, because time is money, and boy, oh boy, does it eat up your time. It is like, it's so much harder than a lot of these apps that are put out there. But that's what I do. So I've been investing a lot of time in Comfy UI, though I do have to say that just recently, in the last 2 days, Stable Swarm was put out for beta, in a beta version, and Stable Swarm is a free, like apparently very easy to install. You don't need to know any programming. It's basically like installing just a regular, like if you install Adobe or like some program on there, and it's a UI. It's like a happy UI with Comfy in the background. So I'm very excited to check that out, and very excited for just the community and at whole to like now be able to have the control of these like 100 apps, where you're talking about like Magnific and Kriya and like all of the little things like Clip Drop, and all of those things that you kind of like spend a little bit of money on now can be like for free on your local, just through like the Comfy backends that people will make for you. So that is like really, really exciting. I hope that continues and grows. And then of course,
can you
sorry.
explain that a little bit better? A little
Yeah,
bit more for
what?
dummies like me.
Let me share the. So if you don't know what Comfy UI is, that's basically like it's been like the new way to like interact with Stable Diffusion and to make just basically things like Magnific, and like you make these workflows, but they're all node based. So it's like incredibly confusing. It's not intuitive. You kind of cry every time you go in there. But that's how people are like doing, all these animation things, and how people can do style transfers and upscales and masking out and in painting and all of this stuff. Take face swapping, doing characters, doing consistent styles, consistent characters, all of this stuff you can do by using this thing called Comfy UI. But it's insane. Like it's level of learning.
How
It's
does the
just
Stable Swarm? What is, you said the
so
Stable Swarm,
Stable
when you can use that
Swarm.
with Comfy UI?
So yeah, so Stable Swarm, they just launched the beta version of that. And when I'm done talking, I'll put it somewhere in here that people can look at. That is like a happy UI version. So it's like going into like, Dream Booth, or not Dream Booth. What was like the original Stable Dream Maker or whatever?
Automatic 1111, right? Is that what you're talking about?
No. It looks better than Automatic 1111. Like it looks like a really good little like UI. Like though they had like an online thing for a while and it was Dream something. I don't know. But
Dream Studio.
Dream Studio. Yeah. So anyway, they've made it into a very nice like UI. You can, for those who are like super smart and want to go in and like deal with the code in Comfy on the back end, you can still do that, but now it just has this like much more accessible UI where you can actually like, you know, interact in an environment that feels like an actual like you know, creative environment as opposed to this like blank gray screen with a bunch of little nodes that are connected by like spaghetti strings, and it just doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So I'll put something up for there, but that's really exciting because it's like completely free, it's open source, and all that kind of stuff. I also use Photoshop 100%, double down, probably will never leave, or not Photoshop, but Adobe in general. I mean, you get every single one of their apps for $50 a month. It's like it seemed like a lot, and now it's like that's so affordable because with you know, AI tools, it's $50 per one little thing, part of an app in Adobe, you know. So always a huge fan of that. Really got into Firecut recently, which is like an add-on AI thing for Adobe Premiere, which automatically cuts like podcasts. You just like put it in there and it'll like read the script and it'll cut it up and like show you what to do. And it adds, you know, captions and all this kind of stuff. It's a very cool AI tool. And then Suno, which is a generative music tool, which now I can unfortunately not live without, because it's amazing to be able to just have any sort of background music that you need and or want, and to be able to control how you want the sound to be. Plus you can turn your bad poetry from when you were like 17 into like cool hip hop tunes and stuff, and it, you know, or like really bad emo songs so that it really matches the lyrics to begin with. But those are my big ones. And then all the ones that I unfortunately had to get rid of, but that I will hopefully go back to: Deforum, Runway, Kyber, Pika, Blockade Labs, Magnific, Korea. There were a bunch of others that I had to leave because I did not have the money. And I also will say that I do get a lot of stuff for free, and usually I'll try stuff for free and I'll use it really hard, and then when I run out of credits, I won't re-up on them. But it's always fun to do that as a tester, but kind of maybe not like the best way to go about it. But yeah, that's me.
That's a good point too, and I'll mention too that yeah, I get free credits for some things, and the things you see me write about, I try to burn through as many as possible so that I can find every kind of way you can use it and how not to use it, so you don't have to waste yours. So that's what I do with my free credits. You know, if I do get that, because I know, let me try it this way, let me try it that way. Please, but Runway, I mean, I have unlimited credits, but I still pay for the monthly or yearly, however that works. I can't even remember. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I did want to ask you, only for Suno, do you ever use it inside of Copilot or Bing, or you just use it separately?
No, I use it separately. I thought with the Copilot you could only make like 4, and then it made you go to the website, or at least that's how it was when I first tried it.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I've never really. I think I only made one song just to test it out. So I'm
Yeah,
not
you can
sure.
make a couple and then it redirects, because it's like it's
Oh.
basically just a really great marketing scheme. Or you know what, people can. I'm not sure if that's true anymore, but that's what it was when it first happened.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, because I didn't really use it. I know a lot of people use it, and I wasn't sure if they were going to the app itself or using it
Yeah,
through that.
and you can use it for just instrumental now too, which is which is cool. So
Okay. Well, now I'm interested because AP is here, and I really want to hear what you use because it's. I mean, I'm sure you have some interesting workflows, so
Yeah,
please.
I primarily use ChatGPT. Well, I used to use ChatGPT a lot. But then like recently it's just been like so lazy lately. So I actually like sadly canceled my subscription this past week and now I'm using Anthropic, which I absolutely love. It's like on par with the same like intelligence for me, but it's just not lazy, which I like extremely value like for programming and all that stuff. Like an example I'll give is I was, debugging Comfy UI as very common, and ChatGPT like made me want to change all this code, and Anthropic was like, or Claude was just like, just change the file path, and then it worked. So yeah, absolutely loving Anthropic. And yeah, similar to what Amelie says, I'm sort of different because I have a 4090. So like I can run a lot of these like local tool or these tools that charge you, right, like 20 bucks a month. On my local machine, right? So like a lot of these tools anyways that are charging you usually will come from open source and it'll be like an open source workflow and they'll like package it up really nicely and sort of sell you on the compute, like the GPUs, right? So yeah, if you have like a really strong local machine, you don't necessarily have to pay all those extra things. So sometimes like I recommend just grabbing like a 4090. Well, the thing is 4090s are very expensive, right? They're like
you can
super
do it with
expensive machines.
3090. I have a 3090 and it works fine
Yeah,
for
or like
most of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I definitely recommend going local if you can. It'll save you a lot of money in the long term, maybe if you're like a more heavy user of these workflows. And yeah, Suno, I did 1 month so I could get the credits, but I absolutely love Suno. Like it pairs very well with like the forum or animate diff stuff that I really like to do. But yeah, that's primarily what I'd pay for right now. And then like if I have a very heavy like programming week or like 2 weeks or 3 weeks that I know I'm going to be programming a lot, I'll use Cursor, which is a sort of AI first IDE developing environment. Um, and I think it's fabulous. It's been getting a lot of like praise from Andrews Kaparthi, um, and yeah, I think it's like really amazing. So yeah, I mean, I would say Anthropic for sure. ChatGPT if they maybe bring back GPT-5 or 4.5 and make it not lazy. Um, let's see what else. Suno, if you're into that music stuff, definitely try it out. I highly recommend it. And then yeah, like if you're local, maybe Google Colab. But yeah, the local stuff's hard because it's really like you really I think need to have an understanding of like programming and like it can be very difficult to set up and it's like you can you know this is the whole point of like the forum studio, right? Like you could set it up locally yourself, which we encourage, but like some people just want to pay for setting it up really easily, right? Which is completely valid, and it's a big time saver, and some people want to pay for that. So yeah.
So, what do you use for like notes and things like that? Do you use anything to keep track of like your? It's like Google Docs and things like that.
A
Spreadsheet.
notebook, unfortunately. I think I keep it really simple. Like I think yeah, like for my notes, I have like in Discord, I'll just like throw stuff down. Um, and then like I just take notes like the old-fashioned way. Which probably isn't too effective because then I'll be like, where'd I put that note? But yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I never even thought about put taking notes in Discord. Thank you. No, I appreciate it because if I put them on paper, they would be lost literally somewhere in a pile. What's up, Taylor?
Um, I have two things, but just on, on that note, I think it was like Matt or somebody at one point told me that they use different Discord like basically channels as a way to generate all of their images, and kind of like automatically topically categorize it. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people do that, but it just brought that to mind. AP, I had a question for you about Cursor, which you say is an IDE. I am like very low code slash no code slash would prefer a visual builder in Webflow like any time of day, but I do use Replit, and I don't pay for it, thank God, but I do use it on occasion. So I'm just like curious, if is Cursor like similar to that? Should I switch?
Yeah, I think like it's a little more different. So My gripe with like Webflow and stuff like that is that it doesn't give you like complete independence over like the the things that you're using. And so I almost have again, it's like this, what do you want to choose to do? Can you pay for it type of thing. But what I really liked about Cursor is that like I also like come from a very like non-technical background, and I in fact only learned how to program because of like ChatGPT and stuff coming out, using it like as a tutor. But like Cursor was actually my first experience with like an IDE, and I had it like walk me through like using because what's special about it is that it has context of like your entire repository. So it'll tell you like, hey, like I'm like, how do I get this running? And it's like, okay, like look for this button. I'm like, I don't have that button. Okay, install this extension, and then like you'll learn over time, which I think is very valuable. But it's like, yeah, it's not going to make it like a silver bullet where it's super easy to program, but it will make it very helpful on that journey, which I think is a good journey, right? Depending on what you want. Yeah.
Is it different at all from like Replit at all? I mean, I know you mentioned
Yeah.
Webflow.
So it's different from Replit in that like on Replit, let's see, I have a little experience with like from my understanding, you can just spin up a virtual environment on Replit and then like deploy instantly. And so this one is more like Replit is like very beginner friendly. And this is Cursor, I would say, is like a step above that because you have to like install the packages if you want to use like Next.js or like Python or anything like that. But like in my opinion, like well, this is my opinion. In my opinion, I think it's better to use Cursor because you have much more flexibility, as opposed to like Replit, because like Replit's great for like the beginners and stuff like that, and it's fantastic to use. But if you're in Cursor, you'll be ultimately building towards that like complete independence of just working with your code, if that makes sense.
Totally. Thank you so much. That actually it gave me something to look into. Obviously, I'm taking notes throughout this, but this is just like next level, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, and also one thing I didn't mention was Hugging Face as well. If you want to learn how to like build apps like that use AI, Hugging Face is like always my number one go-to. That's how I learned because what you can do is like you can find something that you think is cool, look for a space that has that thing that you want, right? What's the thing that's going viral right now? It's like face to any, like face to like PS1 character or something like that. Like there's several Hugging Face apps that do that already. You can just go into the app.py, look at the code, have drop it into like Anthropic, explain to you what's going on there, and then try to replicate it like with your own Hugging Face space because they're like virtual environments. So yeah, if you want to get like started with AI, I highly recommend Hugging Face. That's how I got like going with it. And then like if you're doing spaces, like the team's very supportive and they'll kind of like coach you up as well. Or at least they did when I was kind of first learning. Like they would be like, hey, like this is what's not right with the space. This is why you're getting like a build error. So the community is very supportive and the team as well. So
What do
I
you
recommend that.
pay? What do you pay for Hugging Space AP? Is it just per use? Is it just GPU use, or is there
Yeah.
like
So like,
another?
so I pay for like the GPU usage. So like I'll duplicate a space sometimes, and then like if I'm using it personally, then I'll pay for the GPU. But like if you're making like a more public space, you can like reach out to somebody on the team, and like if you have something cool, sometimes they'll give you like a community grant, so you can have like a public facing demo. So that's how I did the Illusion Diffusion one. It was a community grant, because that would have bankrupted me if like I tried to pay for all those GPUs. But yeah, like they do community grants. And then yeah, like you can use the spaces for free. But like if you want to try and spin them up, like you pay for the GPU directly, which is like I think it's a win-win, right? Because like you're just paying for the cost of the good rather than like typically what other people will try to upsell you and like the bundling and putting the UI on it. But again, like it's all like what you want. If you want to like go on this path of trying to learn what's under the hood, I think it's like really great. But again, it's hard. Definitely not easy.
No, thank you so much, JP. I knew that was going to be very interesting and helpful. I appreciate it. And Morpheus, thank you. We gave you the mic, and I appreciate you joining us. And love to hear what you have to say about what you use. If you might be on mute. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I came in a little late. So I'm a designer, but a little bit of technical. I'm actually getting back into code again. I haven't touched code in about 6 7 years, but I'm also learning about all the tools, low code, no code tools. And I recently finished On Deck and Antler Ventures, and we have these groups where everyone's kind of like trying to build their MVP and things like that. And there's just a slew of no code tools out there now, right? Um, so I loved. Actually, I just learned a little bit from AP. Thanks for sharing all that with Happy Face and all that. I'm still new to that space. Just to touch on that, I think you know, go with. I would just say go with what you're already familiar with, um, and 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 just build anything you can in a short amount of time, if that's possible. But I don't have any other recommendations apart from what you guys just discussed on low code tools, other than um, Retool, Cursor. Cursor's a new one. I've never heard about that one until now. But once I pull up a list soon, I'll share with the group.
Well, you said you were a designer. What type of design tools do you use?
Mainly Figma right now. Um, just to design pretty much anything. Um, I used to use Photoshop, Illustrator, all that, but it's all personal preference. Depends on what you're designing. Like I feel like Illustrators, it's more for iconography, and you can pretty much use it for anything. But I just the less tools, the better for me, and I've gotten used to using Figma for now to design prototypes, MVPs, user interfaces, all that.
Okay, Amelie, go ahead. You had a question.
I have a question. I think I know the answer because he didn't mention it, but I have a question for AP. Have you tried Devika yet?
Davika?
Yeah. It's
I
like,
have not, but what? How do you
do you
spell it?
know? Oh,
DAVIKA?
Devika. I haven't tried it yet. It's apparently the open source version of Devin.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. I've heard of this. Yeah, I've heard of the Devon
Okay.
stuff and Davika. Yeah, I remember.
Sorry
Yeah,
for
I.
those. Sorry,
Mhm.
go ahead.
No, yeah, like I have certain feelings about this stuff, like the Devon stuff. But yeah, like my general thought is that they are sort of like over promising on something that I think won't be potentially hopeful until like a few. Well, I don't know how fast the space moves, like a few months or maybe a few years down the line. Because like if you look at like the Devon thing, like the whole like like announcement of it, which is kind of funny because they use like the illusion diffusion in that demo. Literally all it does is like it looks at an article and then like git clones like an existing repo and then like runs it. And I'm like, that's not real like innovation, right? Like it's really cool for a demo, but if you look under the hood, it's actually not too impressive. Like you can do that already with like GPT-4, or maybe not like spin up that own like environment and like all that stuff, right? But yeah, so I really like think that you as a human knowing to like work with the LLM and like using your own creativity is like the special sauce. And I think that's what makes these things like really, really special. But yeah, that's my whole like spiel on the Devon stuff. Sorry.
Gotcha. And just for people who don't know, Devin is this new thing that was being promised as being an AI software engineer. So basically, an AI to make AI. So it was interesting.
I saw something briefly about that, and thank you. We're going to have to get into that some more next week, absolutely. But I did want to talk about, because there's so many little things. I thought about other things that I spend money on, like 11 Labs. I cloned my voice, so I'm paying like the $5 a month for that for now. But I may not need that forever. I think you can get quite a bit for free. But I did want to talk about today. Mike from Remix was going to join us, but they just dropped the 3D a 3D app, a 3D feature, so you can make an animated 3D image on Remix right now. And they're using Stable Video 3, which just dropped, right? And AP, you might be able to help me explain that. But I just wanted to say, like, Remix is going pretty strong with open source tools, and they want to get as many libraries as possible so that instead of people having to, if you don't want to go to Hugging Face or GitHub and try to figure out how to run it, then try it on Remix Free first, or try it on Remix first. So I did want to talk about that. I was playing with it some, and it does work, and it's pretty cool. It's right there, one click. Instead of looping it or something like that, you can re-roll it and then just go ahead and hit the 3D, and it'll do that. So they have quite a bit coming out soon, that'll be, pretty amazing, mind blowing, that I've seen. But I wanted to hear what you thought about the video tools and what you're doing right now on Hugging Face.
Yeah, so I think like 3D, it's absolutely like amazing that Remix added that to their platform because I think it's like very powerful, right? Like this, I'm starting to like observe like a trend right now where a lot of people are using it's either primarily animated, but also like Deforum, but they're using like 3D to sort of guide scenes, and then they're like texturing on top of it, and it's just like insanely so sick. Sorry, that's like a weird combination of words, but it's just like so freaking cool, like what they're able to do, and then they can like rapidly iterate, right? Like I do think that like 3D is going to only continue. Well, I mean, it's like the AI space, right? It's only going to continue to get way better. There's some like really cool papers that are probably going to be coming out in the next like quarter or like the next 2 quarters. And yeah, it's just I'm really excited for it. Again, primarily like I love animation stuff, right? So I think that the usage of the 3D tools and then like self-rigging them is also like a thing people are doing now. Tripos leading a lot in the 3D space. But yeah, where I'm going with this is like you can compose a 3D scene in Blender and animate it on top. And then I think that's really cool.
Okay, I can't do that, but I would like to learn for sure. But yeah, it's what do you think about all the I'm just kind of amazed at how quickly still we have so many tools. I was using Pixverse this week, and the quality of the animation was so good. And we're getting where we have 4K video that's being produced, and it's not just Runway or Pika. We have so many different tools. There's plenty. Was assistive. I haven't used that one yet. Ali, I think you have, right? But
Yes, I used the Assistive as well, and that was actually one that I paid for and forgot to cancel after my
oh,
testing. But I did cancel it. But I like Pixverse as well, much better. So, but again, it's one of the competitors, right?
and one thing I forgot to mention, I did a thread on it earlier this week, is it has the folders. You can use folders within Pixverse. I didn't, that's a lot of work for me, but for some people who are organized as they're going through to manage, to organize your assets, and it keeps track of the assets. Everything that you upload, you can get back to it without uploading it again. And right now it's free. So if anybody's trying to use something like that, take advantage of these tools when they are in free beta, please, because we people wait, and then next thing you know, they have a subscription. So just take advantage of it now, even if it has a watermark. So there's so many things out there like that. But the difference, I was impressed. I just wanted to mention a couple things that impressed me this week that were a little bit different with Runway. I think they might have come out on top with the lip sync. It's a little bit more believable, it seems like to me. So, but then there's also Wave to Lip. There's a free version that they have right now that they opened up for people, but it does have a watermark that's like directly in the center of the image. So you could try it out on their playground for free. Pika's lip sync was pretty good, but it doesn't really. I like Runways because it adapts to the length of your audio, and I forget how many seconds. It might be up to 30 or 60 seconds or something like that. And Pika would only give you like about 3 seconds, and sometimes the mouth would continue moving afterwards. And I wasn't really sure which 3 seconds were going to show up on the, be generated with the video. So I am impressed with that. And then the sound effects with Pika, it seems like it does a pretty good job. But then I've also been generating a lot with 11 Labs sound effects. And I found that with 11 Labs, the more specific you are with your prompts, you can generate some really good sound effects. So spend time working on the way you're asking for things. It's just like with ChatGPT and everything else in with your image prompts. How descriptive you are will determine how on point your generations are for 11 labs, and you get five. I like that them because you get five results for each generation. Every prompt you put in, you'll get five results, and then it'll store it in the library, your history for you. But I'm loving the character reference stuff, the style reference. I've been having a lot of fun with that. I don't know if anybody else wanted to mention. Yes, Taylor.
Oh, I just wanted to say I'm glad that we're addressing 11 labs because that's one of those tools that like no matter what, even if I'm not using it in a project at the moment, I am constantly I will always like pay for it until it maybe gets acquired or merges with some other tool. And every time I go into it too, like on a weekly basis, I will just get sucked into playing around with it because even now, I don't know, a year plus later since its launch, it's probably been longer than that. I still am just like amazed and so astounded and blown away that like technology can do this. It's crazy. I know that's like a little over the top, but I truly do feel that way every time I'm in there. So 11 Labs is definitely a good one that I think is if you haven't heard of it or haven't checked it out, like go in there and just have a ball because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and for the sound effect, well, mainly for the voices, and you can clone your voice. It really only takes like about a few seconds. You just upload the audio, and you can clone it within a few seconds. You still got to work with it a lot to get it to be expressive. But Taylor, I wanted to ask you, well, how long have you been paying for it, and why do you pay? Because you don't you get a lot without having to pay?
Yeah. Yeah, I have I'm on like the basic package and I am constantly like cloning voices and like to be completely honest, half of the time, probably more than half of the time that I'm cloning voices is just so that I can like make memes to send to my friends. And that's I like to me that is it's a valuable resource. So I don't know. It's definitely been a year that I've been using it. And every time I see it pop up, I'm like, yep, I think it's like $7 a month or something. So it's really not too crazy. But it's just one of those tools that I'll always have around, whether it's for like a quick talk over, or explainer on something, or cloning voices, or creating something truly like creative and immersive. So like storytelling, and just kind of creating like a narrative voice. It's awesome. And if I'm not mistaken, too, I believe there's an API. I wish Amar was here because he could give us the full the full briefing. But I think it's starting to appear kind of as an integration with some other tools as well. And
Yeah,
right?
yes. I mean, it's in like Runway uses it. I'm pretty sure that's what they're using for their thing. Yeah, it's in a bunch of stuff.
I'm also really loving Ali, you kind of mentioned this earlier, like just talking with ChatGPT, which is great. But the read aloud feature has been, I think it just like released a few weeks ago. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen it until recently. Where now, like even on the desktop version, you can have ChatGPT read aloud the text on the screen. So how I've been using it is having it read aloud like a whole, I don't know, outline or brief on something, and then I can multitask and just be like in another tab doing something else while I'm listening to it, almost like an audiobook. And the voices are so cool. There's like two voices that you can choose from, and they both sound very human, which is kind of a nice, like we're getting more and more obviously towards human being able to reveal human sentiment in like audio, but it's just really cool and weird, and definitely like a regular part of my workflow now is that read aloud feature.
Wait, do you use it for your client work too?
I do. Well, yeah, absolutely. I use ChatGPT regularly. Like I can go through a really quick list just so that we're not um, drawing our space out too long. But I'll
Oh,
go
I
through a really quick.
apologize. I thought I was
No.
doing something multitasking, and I'm still on 11 labs. Sorry. Um,
Oh no.
I didn't
Oh,
hear the last thing you said.
for 11 labs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for like the
Yeah.
voices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've done like shorts. I had a client where we did like some like meditations, for example. So we were able to clone his voice, and he's like a celebrity fitness instructor. And so he has his own app and he does a lot of like these in-app meditations. And so not only are we using like multiple layers of AI for something like that, where it's like we're using GPT or Claude to like generate the script or help refine the script, but then by cloning his voice, getting a bunch of different voice samples, it's indistinguishable. And I remember when we first showed it to him last year, he was like, this is just, this sounds like me. This is me talking. And there's no visual or video to it. There is a visual. But even that, when I haven't integrated it yet, but even that could be like an AI generated video to go with it. So for really busy entrepreneurs and, just busy business people in general, like something like layering on the AI tools to kind of really find, I think, where they synchronize, and where you can sort of like trim some of the time and effort that it takes to actually produce all of this content is really key. And it's just been life changing, like over the last couple of years, as many of us have experienced.
Yeah, for people who are freelancing too, like to think of ideas, ways you can use some of these tools to, go ahead and handle some jobs that you might not have thought you could do. So there are a lot of options out there to help people that, use the skills you have. Maybe you're skilled in a certain area, but you don't have, the background in something else. Use those multi-layered tools for that too, so that you can get to, because yeah, you can pretty much figure out whatever you need to if you know where to go. And hopefully you this conversation has helped some with the way we're using these different multimodal tools and different types of information gathering, and how we're storing information, how we're putting it all together. That's what the goal is. There's so many things to talk about too. And like even for landing pages and things like that, I tried Dora AI for a, text to web page website. That was pretty good, interesting. And, I've long had Card. I've been using that because it's like $50 a year to have 25 sites. And that's what my website is based on now. But that I'm checking out Dora Type Dream also has one that's very similar for people who are interested. If you need like a decent landing page, they have templates and things like that, but it goes along and helps out, pretty well. If you have whatever that you're trying to, it doesn't have to be something you're marketing. It could be just your portfolio or whatever, instead of having just a link tree or something like that. If you want to have something that looks a little bit flashier or something that looks, that doesn't have that link tree domain or things like that. So, but there's just a lot of different ways that we can market ourselves and to display our work and have a professional appearance online, and just get things done. You're right about the time saving and the ability to do more. It's like I've learned so much in the past year or so, and it's like the amount of things I do in one day is just, it's sometimes it's kind of scary how many different things I do and how many tools I use. But I'm loving it, and I hope that we can help people find something that they can use. But I guess we're at an hour. We a little bit over an hour. Thank you all so much for coming. Please, the audience, thank you for hanging in there and listening to us ramble about our tools and how we use it. And I hope that you could take something away from it. Please leave information, any links like that. Plug yourself in the comments below, and I will get to try to answer as many comments as I can, because I was trying to keep focused on what I was doing. I knew I'd forget what I was talking about, but I will go around and everybody. You want to say a few words before we go, Omni?
Oh gosh, I have to start.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much. You all are amazing. Love being here every time. Applause, applause, applause noise. Yeah, I guess if you're interested in some of the local stuff that is now becoming more and more accessible to people who aren't necessarily so, don't necessarily know coding or Python or all that kind of stuff, all of these things that seemed like maybe they were too much, and you're curious to follow that journey, that's kind of where I am at now, really trying to make these sort of tools that felt like they were impossible to use and that you needed to go out and pay subscriptions for to be actually accessible and free and open source. So that you can keep an eye on my page for updates about all of that and that side of the community. And yeah, happy Friday.
Well, I'm going to plug Omni because right now, Omni, if anybody is out there and they need a professional, somebody that has a wide range of experience, Omni is available. And,
I
you
am
know,
available.
you need to hire, somebody needs to hire
Somebody
Omni
give this woman a
because
job.
her videos, your videos are so good, and your the way you break down tools and different workflows and things like that, and you understand a lot of different types of technology that's out there. So if anybody is listening, or you know of somebody who, if you are, she needs some kind of employment, and we want to help her out and get her there because she is a valuable asset to this community. And it's we don't want her skills going to waste. And I know that there's people that are DMing me for stuff that I probably cannot do that Omni can do. And please, look out for the people in our community so that we can continue to learn from each other and thrive. But thank you, Omni. I'm still going to
Thank
do
you.
it. Allie, what's up with you? You want us any last words today?
Last words. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We appreciate you all. We always have so much fun geeking out about everything, even amongst ourselves individually and together. This is why we're here. If you follow me, you'll see a lot of Midjourney, but also other tools, tips, tutorials, prompts. I am basically the guinea pig. I mean, not really, but I am testing all these different things, figuring out how things work, and then hopefully I can share some of this knowledge, and that will be beneficial for you, so you don't have to spend that amount of time to, figure it out as well. So hopefully it's helpful, and you can find me by clicking on my name if you're not already following.
That's right. And yeah, we do enjoy, we talk all the time about just stuff that you probably would be surprised about. And it's not just all images and videos and things like that. We go pretty deep into the mechanics of a lot of the different technology that's out there. And, we do spend, I don't think people realize how many tools that we test and we play with and try to learn and then still go back and forth with. I mean, it's just ridiculous. A lot of the things we do. I mean, it's fun. I'm not going to stop, but it's still there's a lot. There's a lot of hours put into learning. And for any brands that are out there, I want to remind everybody, please. It takes a while to onboard. If you want somebody to try your tool, you have got to give them enough information that they can do it in a reasonable amount of time. Please, it's like it's so time sucking to go in and try to learn how to even do the basic stuff. In a lot of tools, I really don't know how to use them well enough to be able to recommend them or even review them. If it takes more than a few minutes for me to get started, I can't. It's too many other things going on in my personal life and what I'm trying to do. So please help people understand, and it helps if we can understand it, we can share the information with our audience and get you more awareness and users. So please help us out with that and get a little bit better and with giving information, pictures, videos, whatever, a quick takeaways. I don't even know what else helps, but something that we can get started immediately, FAQs quickly. But that's my spiel. Sorry. Taylor, go ahead.
That's a perfect segue because that's exactly what I do almost every day. So I work in I work I have so many jobs, you guys. I just like I'll do all the roles, and so I get confused sometimes. I am a creator, I am an entrepreneur, I am a consultant. I work with brands and the creator economy, and I also write about both of those things with the sauce. So if you subscribe to the sauce, that's where I talk about things like internet culture and technology and social media, how all of these things sort of tie together. And obviously, AI is a huge part of that, not just because they're cool tools and we love them, but they're also changing the discourse of digital culture. So I talk about that kind of stuff quite a bit. And you're so right, Heather. Like there, it's one of the biggest challenges that I think creators deal with is just like the unclarity, whatever the opposite of clarity is, when it comes to some of the things that brands want them to try. So definitely something that I am working through as well. And I work on both the brand side and the creator side and kind of bridging those communications. So it's an interesting world that we live in. But thank you again so much for this space and appreciate all of you. I love these Friday groupings and just nerding out and talking about some of my favorite stuff with some of my favorite people. So appreciate it. And thank you, Heather, for always hosting.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all for bearing with me. I appreciate it. Salma, thank you for hanging in there. All of you that are overseas from the US, at least, thank you for sitting here with us all this time. I appreciate it. Salma, you want to say?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. It's always fun to join these spaces. So appreciate you guys tuning in every Friday. I don't have much to plug in, but if you want to review and check out my creative workflows, anything design related, piecing together different workflows, feel free to follow me. And yeah, well, thank you, Heather, for hosting these spaces, and thank you, everyone. So I'm so tired. Sorry, it's
No,
gotten
I
quite late.
understand. I totally understand, and I am
Yeah.
exhausted too. And I've done so many things this week that, like, I'm not even sure exactly. I worked on quite a few things, but I did want to plug my movie, my little short film that I was very excited to make, and thankfully with the help of like Midjourney's character reference and style reference, I was able to even put myself in there in some movie scenes in a type of movie that I like, which is something kind of like a version of Aliens or whatever. I like action movies and that type of thing, sci-fi. So I'm just loving all the tools. I was able to use Runway's lip sync with that. I uploaded my own voice and worked with that. I used some free tools to kind of convert those files and do a few things. I used ChatGPT to come up with the script. And also, I use the Civitai prompt bot to help me. I got a really cool prompt from Jose Mayor. He goes by Mayor King. And it was for, I forget what the director's name was. And that's what got me started. Our prompt shares, when we go around, a lot of my best prompts and the best images come from, trying out other people's prompts that they're sharing. So I went from that and I really liked one of the scenes and I asked it to develop a storyline with additional image prompts to keep this same type of scene going. And that's how I developed that. So working through that is how another way you can use Chat GPT. And I'm sure a lot of people are doing it like that already. You can have develop shot list and things like that. But then I took it into Pixverse, use that. I also use Magnifique to go ahead and enhance the images a little bit more and different things with 11 Labs, sound effects, and epidemic sounds. So there were a lot of little pieces that went together, but I'm really proud that myself and it's Thomas Haynes. He always helps me put it together. He can put all my clips together and make it a better story. So we work together well with that. And I'm going to keep working on different projects and trying out new tools. And I'll put the video for my film, The Last Mission, is on my YouTube channel. This space will also be on the YouTube channel by at least by Monday. I'm going to try to get it in there. Thank you all for coming again and spending the time with us. And I hope that you learned something today or saw somebody that you hadn't heard about or something that you could take away with you for the weekend. And we will be back next week. Hopefully we'll be able to hear something from the NVIDIA conferences and everywhere that the guys have been at. We miss everybody that wasn't able to come, but I appreciate all that were here. My panel, you're great. Love you guys and have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.